There's names in front, so yeah.
We're all in the same league, trust me. Oh, yes, we're all in the same league. Good. Then I know water. That's what we want to hear about.
Okay, good evening, ladies. Welcome to all those that are here in this cozy crowd on this cool evening outside, but nice and warm inside. And welcome to those who are going to watch this afterwards. I'm really excited about this incredible panel that we have prepared for you, for us, from mothers and to mothers. There was once a Yid that owned an inn. And he once poured his heart out to the Speller Zayden. He said, you know, I run an inn, and the type of people that come through are really people that might be the lowest type of people, and the people that I interact with are not the type of people that I sat with at Farbringens, you know, the type of people that I grew up in yeshiva with. Like, these are not my crowd of people. And he was worried about the impact and the influence these people would have. And the Speller Zayda said to him, what did you expect? That you're going to sit in a palace with a bag of gold coins, you know, with your strimel and like a bookcase and just sit and serve Hashem? For a world with no distraction, Hashem has malachim. With a world with no technology and all the other challenges that we face to raise our children, Hashem has malachim. The Speller Zayda says, Hashem wanted Yidden, people. Yes, Hashem wanted you in that inn, facing different people. And when you have such a desire to be close to Hashem, even in that environment, that's what gives Hashem nachas. Your neshama didn't come down here to be an angel. Your neshama came down here to overcome. And yes, of course, it's so much easier to raise children in a bubble. But this is exactly the age, the stage. This is what Hashem chose us, the times right before Mashiach, to raise our children. And this must be what gives Hashem nachas. When we inculcate our children with values, when we protect them, when we give them the ability not to give into the outside world and the culture, but to really give them a Hasidic pride, a Yiddish pride, a pride in doing the right thing, then no matter what challenges they are faced with, whether they're internal, their little insecurities, or external, or social, or the preteen age that we're focusing on, we are going to give them and empower them with such a strong chinuch that this is really what is going to give Hashem so much nachas. So, some of you know some of the mothers in the panel, some of you are going to get to know them. I'll do a short introduction and then we'll dive right in. So, first one is Mrs. Mrazov. Kaweev, so we know who you are. And Mrs. Mrazov is actually incredible to work with. I work with her now in high school. She's a 9th grade principal, and she's been in education for over 30 years. She was a teacher, she was a principal. She's also a certified life coach, a mental health first responder, a professional organizer, and just a wonderful role model and mother, which is why she's here tonight and presenter. And then we have Mrs. Bela Rachel Kievman, also that we know in so many capacities. Baruch Hashem, a mother of 8 children and 1 foster child, a 2nd grade teacher in Beis Yaakov of Queens for over 30 years, director of Camp Emunah Junior Division, and really believes and loves children and believes that a bright smile can make all the difference, and we're excited to have her as well. Then we have Mrs. Leah Gonsberg, a full-time mother and a shadchan. As a mother and a grandmother, she's passionate about helping and coaching others navigate the world of shidduchim, and she knows what it's like to parent teens. She had some wonderful teens, beautiful people, and we're lucky to have her tonight. And she's so proud to have her daughters attend this great school-based Rivka, in her words, so we're lucky to have her. And finally, Mrs. Chedvi Barris, who's been around children her whole life. She loves watching them grow and learn. She's the preschool director in All My Children. She's a mom of 4, as well as a small business owner. She started a company, Aleph Bet Sensory, after introducing many loose parts of Aleph-based materials and realizing that students could benefit from them. So we have a panel here that's really well-rounded and all with the same goal to really help us with parenting our preteens. And I want to tell you something. You know, just from the little that I've spoken and interacted, each of them with so much wisdom to offer, even though we're targeting this for girls, for preteens, so much of what we're saying is focused on this age and also relevant to any of our ages, to our younger ones, to our older ones. So it's targeted, but also relevant. So let's dive right in. Are we ready? Okay. Question number 1, and we're going to do this literally panel style. Pass the mic around, and we'll aim it for 1-minute answers per questions. Okay, question number 1. We want to start with a big pillar, or the pillar of chinuch, which is the foundation, the relationship that a mother and a daughter has. And I want to know from you, what are ways to foster a close relationship with your daughter and to be an active part in your daughter's life? So, let's go in order.
Does it work? Hello?
Yeah, I
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, so I'll start with just asking the question, why do you want to have a relationship with your daughter? And who says she wants to have a relationship with you? Are you lacking friends? Do you have no one to talk to? Does your daughter seem lonely? Are you like trying to fix something from your childhood that maybe you didn't have friends? Like, why? What's the purpose? Why do we want to have a relationship with our daughter? So really, at this age, this is the time to get them, but we have to first try to understand why it is that we want to have that relationship. And really what it goes back to is attachment, attachment, attachment. No matter how many friends they have, no matter how many friends you have, innately, every mother wants an attachment with their daughter, and it's an inborn thing from a child. Even if they show no interest in you, they really want your attention. So at this age of preteen, they're still not sophisticated enough to really, show you the cold shoulder too much. And this is the time to really catch them and build that relationship that will take you through the very rocky teenage years and onto the future. And really, for me, the only way that I've ever been successful, or that I see, mostly for the most part, that I see is an answer to this question, is engagement. The same like with teaching, the old ways, talk to your class, stand in front and talk, doesn't work so well anymore. Parenting, as in telling our kids what to do, telling our kids that they have to listen, or they have to even like us, or they have to spend time with us, none of those things work anymore. It's more engage, engage, engage. So I'll finish with just a short tip on what does it mean to engage with your daughter, to create that interest, to create that relationship. Figure out what they are interested in, whether it be a hobby, whether it be just something that piques their interest in any field, and learn it. You be the expert, and then you will have what to talk to them about. Whether it be something in science, whether it be a hobby, figure it out, learn it, even if it's the furthest thing that you are interested in. And the other part is the reciprocating aspect of it, is get them involved in your interests. If you have a job, get them involved in your job. If you have company, get them involved in making decisions where people should sit and what you should cook for Shabbos. Get them engaged in your interests and get engaged in their interests, and that will foster that relationship that really, really we do want to have, and that is so, so beneficial and crucial from this, especially at this age and going forward into their coming years.
Okay, hi everybody, good evening. So, Baruch Hashem, I am a mother of 8 children, and the ages of my children vary. My baby is 12, and my oldest, Kanai Nahara, is 31. And I have a lot of different types of children, Baruch Hashem. Just to use the word, I have some very Chassidish children, and then I have some children that are finding their own way. And I just wanted to say that I'm not here tonight because I think I have all the answers, or because I think I know better than you. I just wanted to share some things that might be significant, some things that might be helpful, and I'm learning, just like you're learning, And as we all know, Ezu Chacham Alemed Mikol Adam, and we can all really, it's a lifelong journey. And as far as relationships with our children, it is the longest relationship that we have. From the day our children are born until the end of our lives, I consider, no matter how many friends I have, to answer Mrs. Morozov's question, my children truly and truly are my best friends. My husband and my children, my family, and I want to make that relationship the best it can be and the most meaningful that it can be. And the first thing that came to mind, remember we're timed for short, so I just want to say the first thing that came to mind is that children should feel real, true love from their parents. And I refer to the Torah, when I think of love, is a love which is an ava she'ena tluya b'davar. That for every child, they feel that we love them for who they are. And Scott Peck in his book writes that love is a verb. A verb means time and attention. To foster strong relationships, every child needs time that is significant to them. What are you doing with that child that fosters and strengthens that relationship? And attention is, and make those moments meaningful. And we'll talk more about that tonight because I think some of the upcoming questions will answer some of the other questions. And attention, the attention that they need to feel that they're making that connection with their mother, and the attention that they need to be heard.
I'm already learning so much just from these two answers. Thank you. I will echo what she said. All the tips and everything that I want to share with everyone tonight. I wish I could say I implement all of them. I strongly believe in all of them. And we're all human. We all make mistakes. And we could just learn from our mistakes. We could learn from our tips. And I wish we could implement everything that we are taught tonight and tips that I'm sharing with you. Wish we could ourselves implement them and always have them ready and always actually do them. I believe connecting with kids should be in a way that the kids feel that we honestly care, that we sincerely care about them. An example I'll give you is when I was much younger, when I had my younger kids, which is many, many years ago, I attended this workshop by, I don't know if you ever heard of her, Rebbetzin Sheingarten, who was a very, very big expert on parenting, a very wise woman. And she shared an example, and then it was for younger children, but like she said, like Mrs. Blau said, it applies to all ages. She said this following example. A child is sitting down, and the orange juice spills, and the child is hysterical. The child is miserable. The child is crying bitterly. And she said something brilliant. She said, look into the eyes, make yourself look into the eyes, through the eyes of the child. Be that person that looks through the eyes of that child and understand the pain that they are going through. For this child, it's orange juice, and they are terribly pained. It's true pain. And she said it's equal to the pain that you feel when something's bothering you. When an adult is in pain, when an adult is miserable, when an adult, things are not going our way, we are in pain, and that's exactly the same pain. And if we understand that a child, adolescent, preteen, little one, whatever it is, we understand their pain, if we look through their eyes and understand that they are truly in pain, even if it's a little cup of orange juice, it's very painful. And if we go ahead and educate our children like that and have that sense of compassion, that's really something that the children will feel, and they will see a true sincerity of care.
Thank you. I'm not going to repeat the same thing that all our much more experienced mothers than I have said. I'll just say, when Hadara asked me to be on this panel, I said, I don't have a teenager. Why are you asking me? I mean, my oldest daughter is 11. So I have much less experience, but I'm going to try to add whatever I can to this group of lovely women. But really what I felt about making a relationship with my daughter, I'm lucky. I have only one daughter. So whenever I do something girly, well, that's it. It's going to be for her because I've got only one. But that's really what I feel is making a relationship with her, doing something with her that she enjoys and actually having fun with her. So I always say, like, have fun. What does it mean to have fun? Actual fun. Don't just pretend. They can tell. Don't pull out your phone in the middle. Be present and enjoy what you're doing with her. Just enjoy the fact that you're spending time with your daughter. You will find the fun in it. And that will create a real relationship, because when she notices that you're enjoying it, she'll also enjoy it and want to spend more time with you. I'll give you a funny example. Last year we had that one day of winter vacation off, and me and her both had the same day off. And we went to this paint-a-pot place, and we painted whatever our cups, and 3 weeks later we went to pick it up, and they were closed. And then we went again 2 months later, and they were closed. And it became an ongoing joke. We must have gone at least 5 or 6 times. They were always closed. We still never picked it up. It's been over a year. Our cups that we painted are still there. But it didn't matter. She remembers it as an exciting, fun outing. We never got the end result. It didn't even matter. We don't need it. We had fun together, and that's really what we need to try to achieve, some fun.
Thank you. I just want to invite you that if I ask a question and you want to answer it later, or you want to skip, or if you feel like you answered it earlier, then just go with whatever comes to you. Okay, question number 2. So we spoke a little bit about that relationship, and I want to take it a step further. How do you encourage, like, not just, hey, bye. How do you encourage more of a heart-to-heart conversation? How do you encourage her to, like, want to talk to you?
Okay, I was going to say in the beginning, but they took my words, and I forgot, obviously. But I'm just going to start by saying that when I started having my kids, I had an older friend that would, sort of mother mashpia. You have mashpia for many different types of areas. And she'd give me advice, take your kid to the doctor, all kinds of stuff like that. And one of the things she said, sorry, make mistakes. And I was like, what do you mean, make mistakes? So she says, make mistakes, just don't make the same mistake twice. And then, of course, learn from them. So as a regular human being, I'm sure I've made many, many mistakes, and it's a lifelong journey, and we keep learning, and we're just, as long as we're on the right path and we're climbing the mountain, we're doing well. So how do we get to have those conversations, those deep, meaningful conversations with our children, with our daughters, etc.? So if I would ask you to think for a minute for yourself, when you're in that state that you have to speak to somebody, of something on your heart, something going on, something bothering you, and you need to reach out and speak to somebody, who would that person be? Just think it in your mind for a second. Who would that person be? And now I want you to think to yourself, why did you choose that person? Whether it be your husband, a relative, a friend, why did you pick that specific person? And I'm sure what most of you will figure out is that that's the person that's a good listener. We all speak to many different people, and there are those that shut us down. There are those that outdo us. There are those that interrupt. There are those that bring the conversation back to themselves, etc., etc. But our children will only come to us to talk to us if we actually listen. Listen is a very broad word, and there's the big skill called active listening. You can all look it up. It's really an art, and it's really what's saved me and my family in so many situations. I could tell you many stories. We're short on time on how the tricks and trade of our active listening really help bring out a child and get them to speak more and more and more. But the key really is to keep your mouth in its closed position and hear them out. And of course, before the conversation begins, it's important to ask Chani or Sarah, whatever your name is, what is the goal of this conversation? Is this a venting session? Do you want solutions? Do you want us to think of something to do after? Or do you just want to talk? Because I'm here for you, whatever it might be. I just want to know what my role in this conversation is. And if you build a trust with them, that they know you're not going to turn around the next minute and go blab it to your sister, or your next daughter, or whoever else, you will fill that trusting position. And being that real active listener will make them come to you when they have something that they really need to speak about.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Morozov. I think you really encapsulated beautifully the idea of having a great conversation and listening. I just want to add just 2 points that I had thought of, is to make for us to make our children aware that we are always available. We can't force our children to speak to us. I have one daughter, the younger, my baby, who always wants to speak to me. I feel like, Baruch Hashem, I don't have enough time for conversation with her. And I have another daughter who's a little bit older, and for her, I like to knock on her door. I just say, everything okay? Was your day good? I'm here if you need me. So the availability that a child should always know, that mommy is here and mommy is available. And the other thing I think is very, very important, and maybe I've learned this a little bit from mistakes along the way, is a little bit of what Mrs. Mrazov said, but even stronger, that you can tell me anything and you're safe. When I sit with you and we talk, our area is a safe place. And I love you, and I want my child to feel that warmth and that feeling of, I'm going to accept you and love you no matter what, and therefore, you can trust me and you can tell me whatever you want. So being there, the availability, the warmth, and knowing, one thing is repeating, but also knowing that no matter what you tell me, how much I love you and the relationship we've already building, nothing will change that, because I can accept it because I'm your mother.
When children come and speak something trivial, something from school, something small, and you're there to hear them, I believe that when they do have something more serious, they will know that you're there, whether it's small, whether it's big. This is a person to go to. I think it's very, very, very important the children should know that their emotions are always acceptable. Whether it's anger, whether it's disappointment, whether it's resentment, their emotions, no matter what it is, we will always, always accept them. We will never, ever never to dismiss their emotions, never to say this is insignificant, no matter what they are. However, when they are expressing their emotions, and it could be done in any way possible, if they're angry, they should be allowed to express their anger to us. However, when it comes to the point that it could get disrespectful or some raised voices, that of course is not at all acceptable. But their emotions expressed is very acceptable. Now, I just want to share a letter that I actually found today, which really emphasizes this point of how important it is for the kids to be allowed to express their emotions openly. And when I say openly, I think also openly in front of the whole family. We're a family, we all care. If this is what they feel like, let them express it, let them be open about it. Never to suppress them, never say, oh, this is very, very important. The Rebbe writes like this, I hope I could see this. In order to influence anyone, especially the youth of today, one needs to speak with the subject many times and in great detail. And this is where I found it emphasizing the point, and it's amazing. And the one in need of influence should feel free to respond and argue his point. This is what the Rebbe writes. And the Rebbe writes, Lihisvakeach v'la'anais v'chulei, that they should be given the forum to be able to express everything that's on their mind, to be able to respond, of course, all in the form of respect. Something gets tricky when the kids are really, really, really angry. Also sitting, another way to really connect, I think if you sit with her at night by her bed, and it's just you and her alone, that I find extremely, extremely effective. You mentioned already, but if they tell you something private and they say, Ma, I don't want you to share it with anybody, never divulge what they are telling you to anybody. Praise them as much as that you could. Praise them what they have, praise them what they do. And of course, always add to that, that's a gift from Hashem. We have to be very thankful. We have to be very grateful what Hashem gave us this gift. Ideally, in the ideal world, if you ask your children, all the children at the same time, who does mommy love best? ideally, they should all say me. All the kids should feel that the love is equal. You love this one and this one and this one completely, completely equal. And they all should feel that you love them the best, all of them. That would be amazing. To share our love, we have enough love to give everyone. To share our love equally is very, very important. Favoritism is never, ever, ever good, that we know. Humor is also a great way to bond. I'll just finish quickly. I know we have a time limit, but we just recently, one of my daughters, I was cleaning up from the kitchen, and we were just practicing a new language. She was practicing Hebrew, and she started saying all these sentences, and it was just a lot of fun. She was laughing, we were laughing. With humor, always works in every single situation. And so this is a few tips that I wanted to share, all these different ways how to connect with your daughter in all these ways, and all of these are very effective in the long run.
So we all spoke about listening, which is really, as a preschool teacher, I'll say, you have the whole body listening, and that's really what I would want to show. I tell my Moras to do it with their students, and I do that with my kids. Make sure that your body listens completely. What does it mean, the whole body? My head is listening, my heart is listening, my eyes are listening, my hands are listening. That means they're down, they're not busy doing 100 different things. But we all know, I hope you guys still remember what it's like to try to serve supper with 100 kids. I have little kids at home. My daughter can come in home at the same time, and my little one is screaming that he wants that, and the other one wants that. I can't. I promise you it's not possible to listen to everybody at the same time. So it's okay, and that's one thing that I would say is it's okay to tell them, I really want to hear it. Let me finish serving supper, and then I'll hear what you have to say. So while you're still going to listen to them, it's okay to say, we'll get there. I promise you, I will listen to you. And if you actually come back and listen to them, they'll trust you that you will do that in the future. So it's okay to say, not right now. We will hear it. We will talk about this later, in an hour, on Sunday, on Shabbos, whenever it is. It's okay to not have that moment right now, stop everything you're doing, and answer.
Thank you. And one question does build on another. So if you didn't get to answer it for number 2, then feel free to add it number 3. You wanted to add something now? Or you
Just a short little thing. If you look at the letters of listen, they have the same exact letters as silent.
Oh, wow. Silent. Yeah, do you mind if I just add number 3, and then you're first, so you'll be able to add it to that question? Because really one question builds to another, and I'm listening in awe, and I'm like, okay, file that. Question number 3. We asked about, in general, the relationship. We asked about heart to heart. This is just building on it. How do you spend time with your daughter? How do you inspire them to want to spend time with you, etc.? So we're continuing in the same direction.
Okay, I'm going to build on that, but I'm going to add one thing. Somebody gave me this tip years ago, and I used it, and I've passed this tip along to many, many friends who've also had a lot of success with it. And that is to buy your daughter, and I even did it with one of my boys, a very pretty notebook, because not every child wants to express themselves verbally. Not every child could, and everyone has their own ways of communication. And what we would do is every night they had this notebook with a nice pen on their dresser or under their pillow, wherever they hid it, so the rest of the kids don't get to read it, of course. Lots of private stuff going on in there, and they would pour out their heart to me every night, and they would leave it on my bed or under my pillow. And then before I went to sleep, I'm ready to crash, I had to sit there and answer all these notebooks, which was, a challenge of its own, but I promise you, it was worth it. The things that I've learned about my children in those notebooks, and interestingly now, some of them go back now and read them, and there's such a wealth of communication going on in those notebooks, things that they didn't feel comfortable sharing, or things that were going on that they really didn't know how to express, questions that they had that they weren't sure if they could ask. And all this went back and forth, and in a certain way, also the benefit of it was I wasn't put on the spot. A lot of things I had to put the notebook down, get advice, how to deal with, or speak to my husband and really deal with it. And I knew I had the whole night. I had until the next morning to figure out what to do. And when they came downstairs in the morning, I knew that whatever was going on, they're starting a new day. And it was also a way to say, have a great day. I know you have a test. You're going to do great. Giving them that extra boost, even if nothing was going on. It was a way to just write, I love you, and I'm so proud of you for this and this. And it gave me also the time to sit down every night and think about them and take that time that we know for chinuch, we're supposed to take a certain amount of time every day to actually think about each child. So I wanted to just mention that idea. It really works, girls and boys, tried and true, and lots of people that I know have used that. It's not my own idea, so I'm not taking any credit for it, but it's something that really works. I'm just going to mention very quickly what to do, and this is just going to go back to what I said the first answer is find something that interests them. Some kids like to go shopping, some kids do not. Some kids like to go paint night, figure out what they want to do. But I found that for me, also depending on what's going on in your life, you don't always have that time to make a special time to take them out, especially when you have a lot of kids and lots of stuff going on. So I found what worked a lot for me many times was when I was doing errands that I was doing anyway, I took them along. I would just casually, I'm running out to the drugstore, do you want to come? And then it would be a nice opportunity to buy them a treat or have that little quick conversation. And in a sense, that worked for some of the kids that were a little more introverted. It worked a little better than having them feel that pressure of we're going to go out and sit down together and Ma and I have to have fun and we have to enjoy each other's company. It's a lot of pressure sometimes for a child that age. But if it was a more casual kind of thing, like I'm running out to do groceries, do you want to come along? Then the relationship, the conversations just flowed from there because the pressure was not on them. And the pressure was not on me as well. And that's just something to think about as an alternative to a set date, Sunday afternoon date, or whatever it might be.
Okay, thank you. So to build on that, I would just say that with my daughters, more of my daughters than my sons, although I have sometimes spent times at a restaurant or gone out just with my son, I actually took all three of my sons for their licenses and went driving with them because I just found that it was just such a great bonding time with them. And even though I was so nervous inside, oh my gosh, and I was holding myself, but it was really like a good bonding thing for me and my sons. But I do give my daughters options, like, Mommy has Sunday available today. And like all the mothers are going to say, it's not always. And there are Sundays where my daughter will say to me, Ma, can we do something special today? And I'll say, I'm so sorry. Today is A, B, C, D, and E. But when I do have that opportunity to spend the time with my children, firstly, I really like to make it one-on-one and make that special and to give them the choice. And I also find that those times when I'm doing it, if it's shopping or if it's going out to eat or if it's something like that, then that's a great time because she's feeling so relaxed and happy and connected. That's a great time to give guidance that otherwise we may not find the time to do, because we don't want to be overbearing, but to put in little thoughts and ideas and hadracha that we want to give our children. I found that those were very opportune times. I'm going to share two quick things. I love art, and I have a little art area in my basement, and that's my downtime and my outlet. And I'm very, very into it. I do art journaling. And my 12-year-old, about a year and a half ago, came home one day and she said, Mommy, could I join you? And I said, what do you mean? What do you want to do? I was surprised. I said, what do you want to do? She said, can I make a little space next to you and art journal with you? And so we got her, I said, sure. And we got her a little desk and we went to buy her supplies. And we have a little L-shaped area in the basement. And a lot of times when I go down there and she hears me sometimes I'm, talking about the things, she comes down and she joins me. And sometimes I'll say to her, you know what, Mommy just needs I need my own time now because she talks to me a lot when she's down there, which is why I feel that those opportunities when we spend time is time to connect and give hadracha. So I just want to share one other thing. Last year, Baruch Hashem, Pesach, we spent with the family on my daughter's Chabad house on campus, and all my children were together. My two older ones said, Ma, you were the coolest mother. Do you remember how you used to take us out of school just spontaneously and take us out? I was like, what are you talking about? I never did that. And they were like, yeah, you did. And then we recalled one day, I had this spontaneous thing. I was driving home from school and I said, you know what? I want to do something amazing for my girls. And I called Beis Rivka. I'm not encouraging this. I don't want to hear tomorrow that all the principals are going to say, Baylor Rachel Kiefman said, pull your kids out of school. It was a one-time event. I called school and I said, please have my 2 daughters waiting for me downstairs. And I pulled up to school and they were like, Ma, is everything okay? What are you doing here? And I said, I just wanted to do something special. Get in the car. We're going out to eat. We're going to just enjoy the afternoon. And my daughters remembered that forever. And with all the bad and the good mixed together, because sometimes it's harder with your older ones when the younger ones come along, you learn some mistakes. They said, Ma, that was the best day ever, and you were the coolest mother. So just sometimes doing something spontaneous, really helps foster that relationship.
Do you want to add to these two? Are you ready for the next question? Okay. So we spoke a lot about relationship. Amazing. And really, ultimately, we have a lot of different, things that we're trying to accomplish in our parenting, but some of them are more practical, like brush your teeth, take care of yourself, be responsible, and some of them are more essential, like hashkafa and just a little bit deeper. So I want to start that part of the conversation and say, what are some topics, what are some things that you discuss with your child after school? What is the nature and the content of some of your conversations? And I'm curious to hear.
So really, it's so dependent, and like everything that we're saying tonight is so case dependent, depending on the child, depending on the day, depending on their age, depending on their friends, depending on your mood, depending on if you just had a baby or you're deathly nauseous, whatever is going on. There's so many, it depends. So there's not really a clear answer. I don't have a clear answer on that. I do feel like after kids come home from school after a long day, they're not interested in, maybe some are, but for most kids, they just want to chill. And usually it's not really the time to start having any deep, dark conversations. The first thing is get supper on the table, and after they eat, like we always say, look at, we always point out, oh, his color came back, her color came back, because they come in like they're pale. And after they do their relaxing and everything else, then open-ended questions usually work. If you just say, how was your day? The answer is going to be okay or fine or terrible, but open-ended questions, and there's so many ways of you can find out, look up anywhere, how to ask open-ended questions, and those would be not ones that will end up with a one-word answer. It would be like, tell me more, or can you tell me about what was the best thing that you did today? Who did you sit next to at lunch? What was the most fun thing that happened today? Like something that will spur a conversation as opposed to like fine or bad, And then as far as hashkafa and all of that, it all comes through. We're going to answer more about that later.
We'll answer more soon, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to skip it. I'll tell you when those questions come. This is when it comes. You put them to bed, they're sleeping, they come 5 minutes later. That's when the question is going to come. So yeah, that's what I want to say. But yes, occasionally, usually I just send them back to bed, but occasionally I will say, okay, fine, come to my room and I'll talk. So you don't have to do it every single time it comes up. And yes, bedtime is bedtime, but occasionally you can answer at that time, because especially if it's a real question coming up, then try to take that time to give them the answer right then. And of course, we all know as teachers or as anybody saying, it's okay to say, I don't know. We'll find out. I'll look into it. And that's...
Thank you.
Yeah, there's no agenda really when they come home from school.
Yeah.
It's like whatever they take the lead, and then, I try to follow up.
I answered it.
Legitimate answer.
Okay. I think whatever they want to answer, whatever they want to speak about, let them speak. Whatever they don't want to speak about, let them just unwind. However, I think what is so, so important is knowing that you are there without any devices open. As soon as they come home from school, I'm really trying this very hard, that there should not even be a device in sight. Because I don't know what, but the kids take the phone when it's closed, and they could be on it for hours. I don't know how that works, but they could. So we just try our best to take devices out of the area, so they don't have any devices. It's very disturbing for kids to come home and see a mother tapping away on her phone. It's very, very disturbing. I think also when they come home, ask them. They'll feel like $1 million. Ask them, how was your Chumash test? How was your science test? That you remember which test they have and you're asking about it, that is huge. I think we all will know, we all will say unanimously how important it is for children to, for us to be there for our children emotionally. But I feel if it's not as important, maybe even more important, for children to have someone home when they come home. Children are in school for most of the day. We only see them literally for a couple of hours. To be physically there when they come home is as important, like I said, if not more important than the emotional aspect of it. Knowing that your mother is there when you come home, first of all, it gives you a security. Second of all, you can see their expressions as soon as they come home. You can tell right away what kind of day they had. And there's always something, when they walk in the door, there's always something that they remember, they want to tell them, like it could have been from the first recess of Hebrew, that they so want to tell their mother, tell me when they come home. Right away when they walk in, for them to see you and be able to express and say that one thing, that is tremendous. That is very, very important. It's such a good feeling to know that a mother is there. I remember when I was growing up, my mother, Baruch Hashem, was always home with us. Every time we came home, there was cookies and milk, whatever is prepared for us. And when we came home and we saw her slippers by the door, I remember feeling like, oh, she's not home. When she came home, she opened up the door and she said, hello, hello. She greeted us with this huge hello, and I felt like, oh, mommy's home. It was such a good feeling. And I think the children deserve that, and I think for those few hours, to be physically home for them is very, very important.
Okay, we'll go on to the next question. Honestly, everything you're saying is amazing, but I do want to give you a heads up that we might not have time for all the later questions. So if there's something that you would want to say earlier, just keep that in mind. Right now, just to respect everyone, we also have the painting party. It's 9:20, so we're keeping going, and we have great questions coming. I'm just pacing ourselves. Okay, so, as far as conversations going, I asked all of you, about content, and you're all like, well, what's for supper? So then my question to you is, if you're not going to sit and, if the kids want to chill when they come home, and if you're not going to sit and give your speeches at them when they come home, how and when do you transmit your values without giving them a speech? How does it work?
Okay, I'm going to be very quick. The thing that I'm going to ask first is something that we have to ask ourselves every day, and it's something that it's a lifelong question, because as times change, we have to keep on asking ourselves that question again. What are our values anyway? Because if we don't know what our values are, then what are we transmitting to our kids? And then any question that we have, or any decision that we make as far as what we're buying for them, clothing, what activities we're doing with them, what we're doing ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, is it aligning with the values that we have? And then the real answer that I really feel everybody will agree with is, don't do as I say, do as I do. And when the kids they see what we talk about at the Shabbos table, they hear our conversations, with our friends on the phone, with our siblings, with our husbands. They hear what we're talking about. Are we sitting at the Shabbos table and discussing everyone else in the community's bashes that they put on for their bar mitzvahs? Are we hearing sports? What are we hearing? What are we talking about? What are they hearing? Those are the values that they're going to pick up. What is important to us? Is it his kashrus? Are we discussing Rebbe stories? What are we discussing? What are the things that is valuable to us? And that's what they're going to hear. We don't have to, I don't think that we have to sit down and tell them this is what's valuable. These are our values. They're going to see it because that's what they're going to hear, and they're going to see where we put our focus in our life. And to have any conflict in that is really just really messing with their heads and doing them a big disservice.
Okay, so I really ditto everything that you said, and just give it a little bit more, strength. Is really it's what we model. it's the behaviors that we model that our children follow. And I think the two things that our children, you can't fool kids. You can't fool them. And they see when we are genuine and when we are consistent. So, for example, let's say Shabbos Mavarchim Tilim. When my children see that every single Shabbos Mavarchim, I am with my Tilim and I'm saying Tilim, and that's something that I keep strictly to. I don't have to say, okay, Kinlach, let's go, everybody say Tilim. This is something that I model, and I hope that this is something that my children will be encouraged to do. And I know when some years I would make contests and I would promise prizes. You can do that. You don't have to do that. Just want to say, one thing that sticks out in my mind, I remember once when one of my children were young, we got called down to school. One of my sons, we got called down to school because he was misbehaving. And the principal said to my husband, I just want to tell you something very nice. When I asked your son, what does his Tati do? He said, my Tati, he learns Torah all the time. That is what he saw. So, like you said, the Shabbos table, our conversations. When I say to my kids, no Lashon Hara at the Shabbos table, I could say that 100 times. But if I'll say one word of Lashon Hara, my kids will all say, Ma. So it's the behavior that we model, the environment that we create in the house, and what they see is genuine and consistent. And I think that's really and truly the best environment we can make for the children and the best lessons we can say to them.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think values should be perceived as a gift and a pride. And I'll explain you what this means. I remember when I was younger, somebody pointed out, it was 3 days Yontif, and I heard someone saying, another meal, again we have to eat. And I'm thinking, how could she even speak like that? Yontif is a gift. The Sudas of Yontif are a gift. Shabbos is a gift. Pesach is a gift. Yontif, all these things are gifts from Hashem. When we get a gift from Hashem, when we get a gift from anyone, we don't throw it away. For example, Matzah Shabbos, when we have Shabbos finishing, whatever time it is, we don't look at the clock, the second Shabbos is over, we go ahead. No. We wait a few minutes. We cherish Shabbos. We love Shabbos. It's a gift. And if kids could know that all these things, that whatever we have, all our mitzvahs, all our things are gifts, and we impart in that, with our children with that, it's just a different way. Also, I think little things, I wrote down a few things so you know what I'm talking about. Little things can go a very, very long way. I'll just tell you a few things that are so important. It seems very small, but I think it's very, very significant. Negovasser by the bed, not speaking anything chol on Shabbos, saving the best, whatever it is, for Shabbos, dressing in Shabbos clothing before lichbenchen, wearing new clothing for the first time. We used to call it banaying it for Shabbos. You have something new, wait, wear it the first time on Shabbos. Using the language of Mirz Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Bezras Hashem in your daily speech. And Hashgacha Pratis stories, things that happen every day. We couldn't find Hashgacha Pratis in little things, and that should be what should be discussed. The kids should feel that they want to do what they want to do because it is special, not because we are forcing them, not because we want them to do it. Who wants to be forced to do anything? None of us want to ever be forced in saying you have to do this. No, if we think a value is important, we will do it because we feel it is special. And the kids have to realize that. And I also spoke about what is being discussed always in the home. I once heard someone say, a speaker say, more important what is discussed at home rather than how things are discussed. What is being discussed? Is Lashon Hara bad-mouthing people? Is money, is that important? The importance of money, is that a value? Is different things that could not be important, like politics, is that what's being discussed? No, emulating good people, good values, that is something that should always be on the forefront. Everything could be done with nachas. Everything could be done with shalom. All this imparting to your children. The Torah is dracheha darchenaim v'chol nesivaseha shalom. The way the Torah, everything has to be in a pleasant way. everything that I said, everything, all the gifts, everything could be done so pleasantly. When it speaks about mitzvahs, the Torah says, "V'chai bahem." This is your sustenance, this is your happiness, this is something we live with. And this could be imparted in such a way that they feel special doing all these gifts that we have from Hashem.
I'll add to that a little bit also. I was going to say, live by example. And I'm lucky enough to have my parents as the best examples for me. For my parents, Eli and Malka Tauger, the Rebbe's words were a call of action. I remember I was maybe 3 or 4, and the Rebbe came out with the hara of learning Rambam. Within a month, my mother wrote Rambam for children. That was you had to write a Rambam, because what do you mean? Everybody needs to learn Rambam, then the kids need, so you need a sefer. We were watching videos, and I remember telling, we were kids, we said to my mother, we don't want to watch Rebbe videos anymore, it's boring. She made hand in hand, so that there was a Rebbe video, so that we had something to watch. So I think that example of not just, the Rebbe said something, we did it, but with chayas, with excitement. My father-in-law is turning 70 this year, Rabbi Barris, Shalom Barris. He still goes to camp every summer. He sits down with my children, his grandchildren. He sings the camp songs with them. And it's just that chayas, that environment that's not just we're living by example, so we take out a tillim, and it's very important to take out the tillim, and I know you run a camp, so you know what it means to have. But just also with the excitement and the chayas in it, it brings it to that next level. Not just an example, but enjoying that example, making it part of it's not just, we daven, checked off. They saw my tati daven every day, but my tati sang through the davening. He loved it. He asked me to come join him and sing. I remember my mother used to call us from when we were very little to sing Haidu Hashem, Haidu with us in Shabbos morning davening. She didn't make us all daven. We were little, whatever, afterwards, she did. But she sang Haidu with us. And I remember that till today. And I know it, even though in Israel we didn't learn that tune. I sang the American tune because that's what my mother sang with me. And that's really part of it, just that chayas in it and enjoying what we do, not just doing it. Because they will see our example, but if they see us doing it and loving it, it'll have even more of an impact.
Okay, yeah,
I
sure.
just want to add one thing. I would say without the mic.
For the video, it's better if you're on the mic.
Oh, sorry. When I was just going over some of these things, 1 or 2 things I just mentioned to my husband, and he said a great word. He said, our children can feel our passion for the things that are important to us. And especially, like you're saying, I'm just emphasizing, with Yiddish Chassidish things, they feel that. They feel that passion. And that passion falls over, and then they catch on to that.
Okay, I want to challenge us, because there's 4 more topics, even if it goes in different directions, that mothers actually asked us to cover. And let's see if we could really do that in 12 minutes. 4 of you, just kidding, 16 minutes. Okay, we have 4 questions, a minute each, 16 minutes left to the panel. Let's go for it. I'm going to name all 4, and then I'll do it one by one. The 4 questions parents asked from us, in addition to everything that we did till now, was technology, peer pressure, social situations, whether it's the mean girl, the tag-along girl, and body image. So I know that originally when we prepared, I might have separated the questions, but if you could try to, in the 60 seconds allotted, let's go through it. So, how much independence should I give my daughter, specifically, but not not limited to technology? Let's go. Challenge is on.
So you're aiming for the technology thing.
Well, people ask that technology,
question?
but I'll read it as the way it came in. How much independence should I give my daughter, what about regarding technology?
Okay, I'm going to start with technology first.
Okay.
I'm going to do it quickly. Ideally, the best thing would be if we told our children no technology. I don't think that's possible today. I know every house has different rules. My feeling is that if the children have some form of technology, I know my daughter's making me crazy now for a phone. I said, don't even talk to me, not getting one. But whatever technology she does have, filters, time limits, and the clear knowledge that whatever you're doing on your piece of technology, whatever it is, mommy is aware of what's going on. So those are the 3 overall rules. As far as independence goes, my general rule with that is, remember, she's my baby, is I need to know that you're safe. So we're going to create boundaries, and we're going to create rules for safety. And also, I always tell her, I want to know that I can trust you. Show me that I can trust you. Whatever trust means for each and every one of us, for our children. And if I see that I can trust you as you get older, then mommy will feel safe to give you more independence.
Just a little example that I always gave my kids, that is, it's not that I don't trust you, just like if I put you in a car, and sometimes, just a tip, I would take my kids to a huge parking lot for Chol my trip, and actually let them drive, not when they're 5, but like when they're, 12 or 15, let them go for a little spin on a huge parking lot. There's no one around, there's nothing they can do. I'm not going to put you on a highway. The same thing with technology. When you're old enough and you're responsible enough and you're trained and you have a license, then it's another story. And I just want to say one thing at this age, and I'm connecting this to peer pressure, don't believe your daughter when she tells you that everyone in her class has a phone. Because I dealt with that this year in 9th grade, and I'm just being very honest. I heard countless parents told me like a month into school that they would have never given their daughter a phone, but their daughter told them that everyone has a phone. And I have to say that Baruch Hashem in the 9th grade this year, there's about 25 girls that do not have phones. So unfortunately, there are quite a few that bow to the pressure because officially everyone had one.
Okay, so as far as safety goes, I think it's very important for you always to know where your child is, where they are going, what time they'll be coming back. We have to trust our kids, and we have to tell them that we trust them, that they're going to make good decisions. We trust them, and if we do trust them, they will trust in themselves. We tell them we trust them, they're going to know, we trust them where they're going. We trust they're going to find good places to go to. There's one exception, that we cannot trust our kids, and that's technology. When it comes to technology, we cannot trust our children. And the way I look at it, it's going to sound very stark, whatever word you want to use. Would you trust your child, would you trust your kid with a gun? And that's how I look at it. And I think devices should be always, always password protected. There should be no devices ever open without supervision. If you are going out and you're not going to be home, not one device should ever be found open in the entire house. And even if you're on a different floor, the device should not be open. Screen time, of course, should be limited, and the kids should know this is how it is, because we trust our kids with everything, and we want to be able to trust them in the future with everything. So this is, for me, I believe this is very, very, very crucial and very important to whatever I said above.
I'm not going to disagree with any of you because you have good points, but my daughter is an 11-year-old daughter with a phone. Sorry. I live in Cedarhurst. For example, our dear mother here, your daughter had the bus mitzvah yesterday. My daughter went to school. She had school till 12:30. Her bus mitzvah was called for 6:30. It wasn't worth it for her to come back home and drive back. She needed to stay in Crown Heights. She did have a phone. I'm not going to say that that's okay or not okay, but we do find ourselves, my point of bringing this is that we do find ourselves sometimes with our children giving them a device. And that's where I feel like it was more important. And if we do put ourselves in a position of giving our child a device, make sure that we can control it. My daughter has an email because she wanted to get to know her friends in camp or write them emails. She knows that every email that gets sent to me. It comes to me. If you have that under 18 account, you can have that parent control. I see every email. She sends every email. We can see it. So just monitoring that, knowing she knows that I can see it. She knows that I look, and that holds her back enough. Again, I don't know that it's the right choice or not. I'm just saying what's been working for us in our family. But if you do find yourself in a position where your child does have technology, make sure that you have control over it.
Okay, let's keep up the momentum. Oh,
I
yeah?
want to clarify that I was referring to a smartphone, not a flip phone.
Oh yeah, my daughter has a
Okay.
I was referring to a smartphone, not a flip phone. A flip phone, I feel, is for safety. A necessity, especially for kids that are traveling and everything else. That's another story completely.
Okay, thank you, and keeping up the momentum. I know that we're shaking up the questions a little bit, but when parents asked about technology, parents asked about social. So feel free to take in any directions. When it comes to social situations that preteens might have, it might be that someone's being mean to them. It might be that there's a girl who might be like, you know, tagging along that isn't exactly your style. There's a lot of different social challenges that could come up. How do you help your daughter navigate social challenges?
Okay, this is really like a conversation like that could go for a few hours. So
I'm giving you a taste, and then if you want more,
I'm gonna leave the examples and the funny stories out because there's, you know, I have 4 daughters that navigated, you know, through seminary and beyond, and they're still navigating social situations.
You're getting me curious.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I could tell you lots of interesting stories, but we're gonna leave them out for now. But just basically what I will say is looking at them, I was telling Bail Rachel, who we had our social interactions. We were classmates and
No way.
may I say very good friends for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
Looking at it from top down, right now, you know, when you have kids that age, you're looking at it more bottom up. But if you look at it top down, you're able to be confident to reassure your daughter that gamze ya'avar, no matter how bad it seems, it will pass. And you could really reassure them that after you listen and after you empathize. And really the main way to be able to navigate any of these social situations is back to our first other question of peer pressure, and that builds onto the whole conversation, which is a conversation of its own, of how to instill self-confidence and good self-esteem in our kids. And really the truth is that those are key virtue, those are that's the meat of our children's personality and their future success. If they feel good about themselves, they will be able to navigate those social situations. And when someone tells them, you know, you look really ugly today, or I don't like how you have an ugly backpack, or whatever the latest rage is, they will be able to answer them back and say, oh, you don't like it, or, you know, I used to do a lot of role play with my kids that when they were in those situations, and we'd practice and we'd say, you know, your hair is really disgusting or whatever, or you're so stupid, and then the child answers back, oh, really, am I? And then like just different tactics of ways of how to disarm the other person. But you can only do any of those tricks if you feel good about yourself. But really what I'm going to bring it back to, without getting in depth in any of those subjects, is how good do we feel about ourselves? Because if we don't feel good about ourselves, our children will not feel good about themselves. And I see this time and time again. If parents have good self-esteem, and I'm telling you right now, I could speak for myself, I did not have such great self-esteem as a child, and it didn't help being like smack in the middle of a large family. There were five girls. You know, one summer we were all in Camp Amuna together, and wherever you looked, you bumped into another sister. You couldn't get away with anything wherever you were. But I worked on it, and with a lot of work, you know, and it's a daily struggle sometimes, but with that self-esteem that you work on yourselves, you can transmit that self-esteem to your children by modeling it, as everyone here said. They will pick up on you feeling good about yourself with whatever you need to do to get that happening, and that will, just by modeling, that will make them feel good. If you are afraid to walk into a wedding because you don't have who to sit with, and you don't know, you don't want to go to a party because you don't have a friend, they hear that kind of stuff. But if they see that you're confident in everything that you do, and you're not afraid to have guests over because you're not sure if your table is nice enough or whatever it is, your house is fancy enough or whatever it is, they pick up on everything. And if you feel good about yourself, they will feel good about themselves. That's a very good way to jumpstart the self-esteem, especially at these crucial ages of preteen. And that will bleed on to the technology and to many our values, to many of the other topics that we're talking about here, and the social situations as well.
I'd love to hop in on what you were just saying. It's so true. It's so important to be self-confident in social situations. But I also want to talk about the other side for 1 second recently I walked into a simcha and I was feeling very uncomfortable. I was like, where do I sit? What do I do? I was looking lost. I was like, don't do the go on the phone thing to avoid, but I really didn't know where to sit. It was really out of my comfort zone. And I have to give credit because Dini Gurari was there and she saw me, she's like, do you have where to sit? And she sat down near me and she pulled me into dancing. And I was like, wow, like imagine we could teach all our teens how to do that for other people. Because it's true, maybe I need to work on my confidence, but the flip side of that is also teaching our daughters to look out when someone's feeling unsure, to bring them into the circle, and even the person who maybe looks confident, but like inside is like, where's my place? It's so hard. And Baruch Hashem Beis Rivka is such a massive school. And they walk into an event, there's so many girls, it's sometimes hard to know. So also encouraging our daughters and teaching them about, you're uncomfortable, the other one's uncomfortable, let's pull each other in and help each other be welcomed. So.
Right, so I just wanted to say also that I had a line at home always, from all the way down, all the way till now, and I just asked my youngest today, because I wanted to see if they know it as well as the oldest, when things would happen to them, and they would come home and tell me stories in school, oh, that girl was so mean, or such and such, the first thing I always said was, let's talk about how that felt. And my children would describe it to me, and I would say, it didn't feel good, did it? Well, that's our lesson for life. Never, ever do that to somebody else. And all my children from bottom up know, if you ask them, what is mommy's famous thing is, if it doesn't feel good, make sure never to do that to anyone else.
Wow.
And one of the last things that I was thinking when I was walking out my door tonight, I was thinking, because I had just had a conversation with my daughter, literally, about friends and having new friends, and I was thinking, what a great, amazing thing it would be if all of us as mothers went home and just had conversations with our children about fostering kindness and giving them real tips and tools on how to show kindness to children around them, like Dini Gurari did for you at a wedding, but real things. And you can ask your children, what makes you feel good? What makes you happy? What makes you feel okay inside when other girls in your class do something to you? What feels good? Let's practice that on someone else. A smile. Is everything okay? Are you hungry? Do you want, whatever it is for your child. So that's just as far as, and like we all, I'm sure everyone knows, giving our children tools when other children are mean. It is important to give them tools to know how to answer and how to defend themselves, helping them build self-confidence, making them feel that it's not about me if that child is mean, learning, in school I sometimes tell my students, put your hand out like this and say, stop, it's not okay. So I don't know if 13-year-olds are not going to go like this to each other, but that idea, that concept that we give them tools to be able to defend themselves. Now, did you want to combine another question with this, or?
Well, we're going to have one more question
Okay.
after this.
Okay.
Well, so remind me what was the other question was about.
We spoke about technology independence. This question, I combined social, if there's someone being mean, or the flip side, there's someone who might be annoying or not your type.
Okay, so I had this conversation actually with my daughter today as we were leaving, because I wanted to play it off on her and see, and I said, school is a social platform, and there's no room, and that's how I started. And she smiled. She goes, I know, Mommy, there's no room for ever being mean to anyone. Mm-hmm. She said it before I said it. And I said, there are times and there are ways to make everybody feel included. Time with your own friends can be out of school, or, play dates, Shabbos afternoons. But in school, there's always a way to make everybody feel included. No one should ever, ever feel in a classroom situation that they're being picked on, bullied, or left out. So
Thank you.
That
Yeah.
was.
Very well said. Okay. Like she was saying, no one should ever be treated meanly. There's no reason for any child to be treated meanly. What I suggest is that the child should figure out on their own what to do with this child. If that doesn't work, sit down and watch Izzy Kalman videos together, because he has the tips and tools how to deal with someone being mean to you. If that doesn't work, just
Izzy Kalman.
If that
Bullies
doesn't,
to Buddies, I think his program is called, right? Bullies to Buddies.
If that doesn't work, call the mother. If that doesn't work, call the principal, because that has to stop. Another thing I tell my kids is, just think of what Rahmanis we have to have on this child, that they have to act in such a way. Their bucket is empty. Let's try to fill it up. The only reason why they're acting like that is because their bucket is empty. What a Rahmanis. Let's try to fill up their bucket. And regarding the nagging child, the one that tags along and nags the child, I saw an unbelievable article recently, and I'm going to read a little part. I'll do this really quickly. It was a great article from Rabbi Lipsker, and this is what the title was. Was Rivka Imenu emotionally healthy? If Rivka Imenu was evaluated today, would she pass as emotionally and psychologically healthy? She seems to have lacked what I can't really see, you can tell my age. She seemed to have lacked what we call today healthy boundaries or personal space. And this is something I hear all the time when doing shidduchim. People will introduce their child as, my child knows her boundaries. My child knows her space. My child, and if they think that's very compelling, if they think that sounds really good, I don't take that good at all. If I would hear a mother say, like Rivka Imenu, my daughter extends herself beyond. She goes ahead and offers Eliezer water. Not only does he offer water, she offers also his camel's water. She extends herself beyond anything. She'll take a shirt off her back. That sounds like a good shidduch. That sounds something that we're all looking for shidduchim. This is a midah that we try to encounter. This is a midah that we try to impart on our children. The boundaries, the space, the self-help, all that, for me, it's foreign. I don't think that should even be a word. It's just like almost like a bad word. I keep my boundaries. What kind of keep my boundaries? It's not what the Torah demands of us. That's not the Torah way. The Torah way is the way Rivka Imenu acted, extending herself beyond. And if a child knows that that's what they have to do to their children in their classroom, they will go ahead and figure out how to deal with that child that tags along them. They'll figure out a way without chas v'shalom ever hurting the child in any single way, in the most sensitive way possible, because this is what you were saying about don't do that. That's the basis of the Torah. What Hillel was standing on one foot, don't do to others what you would not want to be done to you. And that is sensitivity and care and extending ourselves without any boundaries to our fellow classmates, to a guest that we have at home, to strangers, whatever it is.
I'm going to add on that a little. You all talked about self-esteem, we said, and it's true. It says, "V'ahavta l'recha k'maicha," and we're like, what do you mean, "V'ahavta l'recha k'maicha"? Love yourself first. If you can love yourself, you'll be able to love others, and that's true. But if your child is really struggling in school, or you're having an issue with that, try to get some success somewhere else. If there's an after-school program, an art program, if they like to bake, let them bake at home. Get those sense and feeling of success somewhere else out of school, and it'll translate into other areas of their life, because they want to feel successful, and the more times they feel successful, the more chances of them to translate that success into the school as well. They'll say, oh wow, I baked an amazing cake at home yesterday, and they may mention it in school, and then somebody may look into that, and it'll just translate into more successful opportunities in school as well. So let them have any sense of success, maybe out of school sometimes, not just in school.
Okay, so I'm juggling an audience that I promised a time, and I said there'd be one more question. So let's do 30 seconds, and the last question is, anything that you forgot to say before, your last 30 seconds, what do you want to leave us for tonight? One thing, whether it's from any of the topics, something that you meant to say, what is your last, because we didn't get to all the questions, so some of you might wanted to say something about the body image, some of you might have wanted to say something about peer pressure. What is that last gift to all of us, that last pearl of wisdom? And you know what, I'll give you a second to think about it. I'll share a short story, unless you're ready.
Yeah,
you're ready, go ahead.
Just the first thing, first thing that comes, no, that one's not working. I think we talked it out. The first thing that comes to mind, not on anything that was asked on question, just a personal feeling and a thought that I want to share, is that every single neshama that comes down to the earth, there is a hashgacha pratis of where that neshama is placed. And all of our kindlach are in our homes and in our hearts and in our lives because that is exactly where the Eibishter decided that we should do, where they should be. And the best that we can do is the best that we can do. Every day we wake up in the morning, there's Avodas Hashem, there's Iskashrus, there's relationships, there's our children, and as long as we know that we are putting our best foot forward and we are trying our best, it's not going to always turn out the way we expect it, ladies, trust me. You know, my husband and I often talk about one of our dates, and one of the questions I asked him about the future with children, and what he answered me, I you know, it's a little bit private, but you know, I'll have a heart attack if that happens. Baruch Hashem, we never had a heart attack, and some of that happened, and now you know, Kanai Nahara, like I said, my oldest is 31. I just know that when I talk to them and when we have conversations, I say, I love you with all my heart. I did everything I could and I tried my best. Doesn't mean I didn't make mistakes. I made mistakes along the way, and I think that's what we always have to remember. Don't be hard on ourselves. Don't feel like, oh, I'm a failure. We're not failures. We're the best. You're the best mother. And continue being the best that you can be, because this is exactly where the Eibishter wanted our children to be, and we have to just continue to do the best that we can.
Amazing. I want to add something to that, and this is something that I would tell my children when they would come and say, well, that family is doing that, and their mother lets them do this, and all that I'm sure many of us hear very often. I would say to them this medrash that I learned once that said that not only the hashgacha, that Hashem chooses which family and which parents are the most capable and the best for this specific neshama, but the neshama itself chooses which family it wants to be in. And I always look back at them and say, honey dear, you chose me. So I live with it. But I just want to leave you with one thought, and that is that it's really, really not about us. It's about them. So that's something very important that we have to constantly live with and always remember. And I'll just give you one little example of, you know, in my role now as a principal, so many different situations come up, and many times it's not my role to give that perspective that it's Mrs. So-and-so, this is not about you, but you could have like a situation where a mother wants her daughter specifically in this class, with that girl, with that teacher, with this situation, in that play, in that whatever, pushing for different things, and we know that that's not what the child really needs, but as parents, we want the best for our children, but what we have to do is sit down and ask, is it for them or is it for us? If they want to be a plumber, we have to make sure they are the best plumber they can be, even if our dream was that they should be a shliach or whatever. You know, if my child, I mean, maybe some of you know, he's a photographer. Did I ever dream? I mean, Baruch Hashem, he's doing great, and we're very, very proud of him. But it's not about me, you know, thinking and growing up that my children will always and all do one certain thing. Every child has their own mission. Every neshama is a gem. Every child is a diamond, and it's our job to polish that diamond to the best of our ability, like Beit Rachel said, to do our utmost best and just constantly remind ourselves that we are entrusted with this diamond to do our best that we can with it, not about us. We had our turn, and we can still work on ourselves as well.
Okay, I just want to share, unfortunately, my father passed away. It's just over 2 months. And he was a really wise person. Just want to share a quick story that was really, really excellent advice.
Do you want to say who your father is?
My father, Rabbi Eisenbach from Montreal. Really, probably the wisest advice, one of the wisest advice I got. One time, when I had my little kids, one of my kids was acting up terribly. And I just was beside myself. The other kids were there. I was just beside myself. And he called. And I said, Abba, what do I do? She's this and this and this and this and this. He said, just pretend your daughter is your neighbor's daughter. Think how beautiful that advice is. Another thing I want to share is, I'll do this really, really quickly, is that every kid is different. Every kid, I just got a plant actually, I never saw instructions on a plant that went like this. It said, water the plant with ice. Just put 4 ice and that will be how the plant is watered. And I'm thinking, as I was preparing this, I said, you know what? Every child is different. Every plant is different. Some children need a lot of watering. Some children need slow watering, like the ice. Some kids need their space. Some kids need more sensitivity. Some kids need more affection. Every kid is different, and we know every single child, and we know what they need. And that's how we should plant them, for them to grow strong, as Hashem should help us go ahead with that. Another story I want to share, and then I'll just read something that I prepared here, is that parents, I just saw a video about parenting. Parents came to the Rebbe, and they were very worried. The mother came to the Rebbe and said, my child has emotional problems. He's unhappy, he's tense, he fights with his younger sister, he's jealous. I don't know what to do. And the Rebbe asked, how old is he? 8. And the Rebbe looked and was validating every word they were saying. And the Rebbe said, does he go to a regular school? And she said, yes. The mother answered, yes. Does he need special needs? Does he need special attention? She said, no. Does he have friends? And she said, yes. We have play dates. Does he mix with his friends? She said, yes. So the Rebbe answered, find it quickly. The Rebbe answered, I want to tell you the Rebbe's words. The Rebbe answered like this. I believe the best approach is not to make a problem of it, not to speak about, not to discuss, and everything will settle itself. A lot of times parents think they have to be over the situation and call the student, call the mother, call the other mother, call the principal, call the teacher, always over. And what happens is it causes so much undue anxiety, so much undue unhappiness. The Rebbe says sometimes just back out. Just let your kid be. If they're shy, don't expect them to be loud. If they're loud, don't expect them to be shy. This is how they were created. Just let them be. Let them make their decisions. Tell them, go to school and figure it out. They will grow like this. The Rebbe said everything will settle on itself. You have to know your kid and you have to know with who it works. I just want to add one more thing about peer pressure that I've heard, and I think it's brilliant, and I want to share it with you. I wrote this up, but the last thing I'll leave you with, I think, is one of the most brilliant things I've heard. Children and adults alike need to belong somewhere where they feel safe, happy, and loved unconditionally. We have to try to make our home that place so there will be no need for them to look elsewhere. Home should feel like a place they belong. That can give them the strength to rise above the peer pressure. There won't be a need for it. And I once heard that this is what I heard. I think it's just brilliant, and I'll say it slowly. If you shower your child with lots of love, I repeat, if you shower your child with lots and lots of love, they won't have to search elsewhere for it. Thank you very much.
Hold the clapping for one more. Final.
That's okay.
Finale.
I'm just gonna say, just enjoy the process, have fun with it. I'm not old enough to give that much advice, but if you're there and you're enjoying it and you're present, they're gonna enjoy it too. And you're gonna, and if you enjoy it, they'll enjoy it. Also, I once walked into a house and I saw something adorable, and we started doing it in our home, and it really worked amazingly. You know, we give our kids mitzvah notes to take to their to their moras sometimes, and kind of fades out at the older age. Well, I printed out really cute mitzvah notes with the kids' pictures and my husband's, and there's a mitzvah note for my husband too. He has a mitzvah note for me, and we put them on the fridge. And we just write mitzvah notes to each other and stick them onto the fridge with a magnet. You know, those pretty cute ones that you make for little kids? That's the ones we have in our fridge. And and by the way, my kid wakes up in the morning and he sees his mitzvah note on the fridge. He thinks it's amazing. And if they see my husband's mitzvah note, the mommy wrote a mitzvah note for Tati, or Tati wrote a mitzvah note for mommy, they also, they get so excited about it. And it's recognition. So that point of recognition is super important.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. I can't even it's a good thing we videoed it so we could watch it and process it, but everything that you shared from the heart, from your experience, and even the fact that you shared that you do some things and what you learned from your mother, and how, you know, watching the transmission of values live, how your mother did it, and things that you got, you know, from the Rebbe, from your, you know, environment, and giving that over to our children and our values. It's just been so inspiring. So thank you so much for all the effort and the time that went into preparing, for all the mothers that are here. And thank you to Beis Rivka for supporting this, to Branches for really wanting. And thank you to Hadara Friedman and Noah Lieberson who set up and, yes, so thank you very much. And I'd like to invite all of you to please now, if you want to process it, you spoke about an art journal, you can come process it through painting and relaxing. So I want to invite you to join us on the other side of the mechitza, take some food, you could cut open the cake, bring home for your kids so your kids are happy you went out and they'll be like, go out again and come home with yummy things for me. So thank you for joining us tonight.